And this webinar is one of the first of many events affiliated with the summit.
The Global Climate Action Summit is a demonstration of non-state actors with the purpose, this is the objective of the summit, to move national governments. What we perceive as global climate community, and this might not be the situation on the ground, but I'm telling you what we perceive in a general term, that in Nordic country, we see more government leadership than we see non-state actor leadership in Nordic countries. Very little we hear about businesses in the Nordic countries moving forward. This is an opportunity.
The summit will talk about transformation. And when I compare it with the debate in the recently concluded election campaign in Sweden, I just say to myself, how the hell could it be that we for 4 weeks had an election campaign where climate was discussed, but it was mostly about, should we subsidize electric cycles? What should we do about the tax on aviation? It was petty issues compared to the transformation. Nobody talked about it. Lastly, I was a little bit taken aback when he said that we don't hear much about Nordic companies, because I have the impression that not only the Hagainitiativet but also the initiative CLC in Finland is very proactive. But maybe why you hear much more about American companies is A, it's such a big country and such big companies, but also that what they do is such a contrast to what President Trump is doing. So it's singled out as something very, very positive. But I'm quite impressed by what you are doing. You asked him very rightly about the Arab world. I was giving a talk in Sharjah, which is one of the Emirates, about a year ago, and I said to them, you have 2 problems in this region with regard to climate change and your tourism. A, you have built your hotels almost in the sea. So that will be a problem because we have sea level rise. And secondly, it will probably be so hot that tourists cannot spend more than 15-20 minutes on the beach. So this is going to be a challenge for you. And then a lady stood up from the finance minister of Abu Dhabi and she said, Mr. Wijkman, we have thought about that. We have built the best shopping malls in the world. So people come here to shop.
Used and interviewed 38 chairmen and CEOs of large Nordic export companies, and they gave their views on climate effort and profitability and competitiveness. So the main conclusions of the report states that there is a high priority and a high commitment of Nordic companies and their CEOs and chairmen, because they see that climate efforts give competitiveness, and they also therefore welcomes higher targets.
Together with our friends from the Nordic countries, we have started a call for EU, because we know we can't move business if policy isn't ambitious enough. And you as a company or a city, wherever you are, all over the world, can sign this, because we're moving EU on this.
Our vision is not only climate neutral, but negative. And I think in the future, the heat that you are using will come with a negative emission factor, minus 100 gram per kilowatt hour.
Could you say the Folksam Group is important for the transition in Sweden?
Of course, in our way, because we have so many, we have more than 4 million customers in Sweden, and we're into almost every business there is, so we can make a great impact in different levels, especially for our customers.
At Preem, we are also investing into the biofuels, and the point I want to make here that even if you extract raw material from biofuels, you still need to refine them in facilities like we do for the fossil fuels. So the refineries play an important role even in the future and even when we make transitions into the biofuels and renewables.
If you take people out of poverty to 2030, we need a lot more materials for sure. And this is just to give you a little bit quick why we are transforming steel industry to try to do steel without making any CO2.
So what is media's role here?
That's a very good question, because I think we should write and report more about the transformation that's ahead of us, but it's difficult if you don't have any role models to show, because the transformation is so big that we are going into.
I think that the climate has kind of a challenge that people talk about it when there are no other extremely pressing issues.
And business decision makers at GICAS, at the summit in California, what is the most important thing you want to say to them?
So I would really impress on the meeting that, yes, good with all disruptive technologies. Yes, we know that solar energy will dominate in 30 to 40 years, but the transition is very, very difficult to make. But please let us reform the economic framework, because otherwise I fail to understand how this is going to work. Because the combination of the rebound effect, when we use things more efficiently, and continued conventional growth, will kill all the good initiatives unless we develop a framework where we really give priority to quality and not quantity. And that's the only way out.